What's up? Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Zach. This is my beautiful wife, Montana. We are the Rustenbergers. We've been the Rustenbergers for almost 9 years.
Yeah.
9 years.
You forgot to say the name of our podcast.
These are the conversations
Clap
we
again.
have when the children
Go to bed.
go to bed.
No, it's the children are in bed.
Whatever. It's on the title. It's in the description. You know what it is. You've seen it.
Maybe by like our 100th episode, he'll get the
It was
name
on the
right.
thumbnail whenever you clicked on it. It's all there. But so we've been the Rustenbergers for nearly 9 years. It'll be 9 years.
Well, I mean, you've been a Rustenberger.
I've been a Rustenberger for 31 years. But together, mutually, in the bonds and confines of marriage, we've been the Rustenbergers for almost 9 years.
Almost 9 years.
And we've been
that's right.
together for about 10.
Yes.
10 in August.
We went very fast. When
We did. We met and got married super quick and super young.
Yeah.
For no reason other than we just really wanted to be married, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's do a pop quiz
Okay.
of our relationship. Okay.
All right.
What month did we start dating?
Officially or when I started pursuing you?
Officially.
In September.
It was August.
August. It's close enough.
August. What year?
2014.
14.
Almost
the
10
year before we
years,
got
yeah.
married.
9 months before we got married, not a full year.
What's our anniversary?
It's May the 30th,
What year?
2015.
2015.
It's the year I
right.
graduated college.
Yeah. Where did we meet?
College.
Where?
At a bonfire.
Do you remember the bonfire?
No. It flashes in and out.
How many years did it take you to learn my birthday?
We were already married. So at least one.
I think it was more like 2 or 3. He always thought it was like a day.
1 day off.
He was like 1 day off. I was like, seriously? How long have we been together?
How long did it take you to learn my actual name and how you spell it?
1 month. I spelled
Still
it.
too long.
When we first started dating, the passcodes were only 4 digits on our iPhones, and I made my 4-digit spell Zach. And then he tried to get in my phone one time, not like sneakingly, just like to do something. And he was like, "What's your code?" I was like, "It's your name." And he was like, it didn't
It's
work."
not.
And I was like, "Yeah, your name is ZACK." And he was like, "My name has an H." I was like, "Okay, good thing we're only a month in, so I learned how to spell your name now."
Yes. So, caveat on the bonfire. It was a different life stage, and I'd made some poor decisions. Okay.
Well, I think we were both at the bonfire. So.
Thankfully, God saved me from that lifestyle and brought me to my beautiful wife,
Yes.
Montana. But yeah, so we've been through a lot in a short period of time. 8 years. We've moved 4 times. We've had 3 houses, or 2 houses in a apartment.
Mm-hmm.
We've had like 10 cars because we can't
Many cars.
can't keep one longer than 2 years. Although we're working on it now and it's going pretty good.
Yeah, so many cars. We've had
3 children, 4 dogs,
4 dogs, yeah. 3 children, 4 dogs.
whole lot of life lived in 9 years,
Almost 9.
almost 9. And we just had a vow renewal at our
Yes.
church that we were a part of.
Yes, it was actually really fun. And I knew the one thing about Zach that he'd always told me is I will never renew our vows. Not that he didn't have fun at our wedding, but he's like, I did it once. I'm never going to do it again. He doesn't like being the center of attention, especially with stuff like that. So we did this vow renewal at the church that I work at, and he had to come because I had to work it. But he was like not excited about it at all.
It was fun.
It was actually really fun. We got to like recreate like cutting the cake, and
Yeah.
we got to dance, and we even talked that night like you just don't get chances really like that as adults, like really, unless you go to someone else's wedding, which we hate.
Yeah, I don't do that very
It just
often.
seems like if you have a night away from your kids, why would you go spend it at someone else's wedding? I don't know. I would rather do something fun. But like I was like, we haven't danced since our wedding. Or I guess your brother's wedding 2 years after we
Yeah.
got married, we danced.
It's just not, it's not something you get to do a lot. Unless you go to a class, like a ballroom dancing class, you don't really get to do, yeah.
I'm not
But there's
skilled.
not like there's not like, I'm going out dancing tonight.
Yeah. And I'm sure there are like like we're not going to go to a club because that's not the kind of dancing. You
We
know?
also live in Little Rock, so there's not really. I mean, there is, but not. We're not going to those.
No. And so there's not, like Zach said, there's not really any opportunities. And then, you see all the movies like, oh, they just dance around the kitchen. Like I guess we could do that. And I think that we maybe should make an effort to dance together more. I was like, because it's just one of those things that you don't realize how special and intimate it is. I don't know, but it was one thing that I would never have looked at our relationship like, oh, we don't need that. And then, we like hung out and danced at the vow renewal. I was like, I kind of see it. I kind of get why they dance in the kitchen. Like it was just nice to focus completely on ourselves for a little bit. And not that we don't do date night. It was just something different because it was like date night. You're just going to spend time together and have fun together. But like the vow renewal was like you're looking at your marriage,
intentional on the relationship.
Yeah, and you're looking at your marriage and it's like what it is, and what all you've gone through, and that you're committing that even though all that we've gone through, I still want to be here. I still want to do the future with you. And there were couples who've been married,
long time,
2 years or 20 years, or
yeah.
I mean, my parents have been married like 34 years or something like that.
Somebody that was like 40 something.
Yeah, 40, 50. I mean, like, well, they went there. But yeah, like 40, 50 years, I was like, and even they were like, I'm still excited to see what's next. It was a really special night. I'm glad that we did it and that you were forced to do it.
I think in our relationships, and when I think about the guys I talk to and the people I'm around, especially like in ministry and in church and stuff, there's a time suck on time. Like there's something that can be getting done all the time. And we're victims of this because we like to get a lot of things done. And like when our kids aren't here and we have date night, it's like, okay, we'll hang out for an hour or two, watch a movie. And then it's like podcast, TV, or writing, studying. Like we go right back into whatever the work thing is that we need to get done. And I don't think that we take the intentional, like dedicated time to focus on your relationship. Spending time with one another is great, but it's not the same thing as an intentional like focus on the mechanics of your relationship. And something like the vow renewal, what was really cool was that we got to, even though we were kind of working and talking to people and cutting cake and kind of acting in some of those like wedding quote unquote moments, we got to, in the moment of the renewal, we got to focus on the mechanics of our marriage. We got to focus on kind of like the words that the pastor of our church spoke for a minute, and they gave like kind of insight into marriage and some of the like the laws, if you will, of a good relationship, which I thought was really interesting and things you just don't really get to do. I mean, people who go to like couples counseling, I'm sure kind of do that more frequently, which maybe that's something we should normalize more frequently, is that people just go, even if your marriage isn't bad, you just need that time to talk to one another.
I think especially, as you have children, and you start kind of living, or, even job, like you start living your separate lives, then you have your together time, but it's going to look different at every stage of your life. You need that time. And even if it's just like a couple, once a month or like, a couple times a year, like where you guys actually like sit down, you have a nice dinner, maybe do dance in your kitchen, when the kids are asleep or whatever. And then you always just talk about your relationship, tell each other like what you've loved about your relationship, what's changed your life about your relationship. And then, talk about the future and keep the kids out of it, keep like your jobs out of it, and it's just, what do you want from us? And we were really bad at that. Like I said, up until his vow renewal, like it was the vow renewal also, I feel like a little bit vulnerable, and I never really feel that way with you, but I was like, oh, like he still chooses me. Like I don't know. It's just, even though I know that you choose me every single day, but like in that moment, it's like, he said the words again. I think that if we normalize like saying our vows or saying something as concrete as those vows to our spouse, like I said, once a month, once a week, a couple of times a year or whatever, I was like, what it could do for your relationship, because I felt closer after the vow renewal.
I like that. I like the vulnerability piece, like, and from both sides, from like guys, you're not too cool to like just dance and hang out with your wife.
Yeah.
Like 2 years ago, I probably would have been like, I'm not doing that. Yeah. It's like, but it honestly is just kind of fun to be silly with your wife. Like we were just saying, you just don't get to do that very often. So don't miss opportunities to just kind of be silly. and to be vulnerable in those ways. Say the words and listen.
Yeah.
Listen to the words that are being said to you. Like, women are way better at expressing their feelings towards men, but men are terrible at receiving those feelings. And men are terrible at giving those feelings back to women. And so there's always kind of a disconnect in communication there between the two as they're trying to express just in passing. I think another thing to do is just, you kind of mentioned it, is that there's almost like an inventory that's done where it's like, where do we want to go? What do we want to do as a couple? Like, let's not look at our kids. Let's not look at our jobs. If you could just dream. And what does our life look like in 10 years?
Yeah. And it's not like, oh, what trip are we going to take? Right. Or like, what, we're going to go on a second honeymoon, which again, you can do all that if your bank account allows, and things like that. But it's more of like, how does our relationship, how do we want it to grow? Mm-hmm. And like, what are we going to do to grow? Like, like you're going to grow closer to your spouse, or that's the idea, as the more years that you're married, because you learn more about them. I was like, but it's very easy to just kind of do the mundane, just do the normal everyday thing and not talk about the big things, not talk about, why do you believe that? Or why, what changed you as a kid? I know that we talk about your parents' divorce and stuff like that, and that's something that I'll never understand, but I think that it plays a part into who you are and was your childhood and things like that. So I think you do that. I feel like you do that when you're first married and dating. Like, you talk about all the things and like what makes you and but as you go on, it's just like, oh, we're just gonna, how was your day? Oh yeah, like you talk about work, talk about the kids. And then
it's like I don't know if it goes away. I think it's more like in the beginning, it's like a microwave. It's like, we want to know everything now.
Yeah.
Like, is this a person I can trust? Is this a person I can hang out with more frequently? Is it someone that I might could see a future with? That's the dating. It's like a microwave. It's like 2 minutes, go.
Yeah.
But as we get older, it's like a crock pot, and it's just like a slow simmer of like information. I think that's what makes marriage so beautiful and so important, and why it should remain such an important part of our culture and society, especially as believers, but as all people, because it's like a simmering, like where it takes time to unfold, and it takes time to marinate and to gain richness and fullness as it cooks. And it does take time. Like, some days are just, how's your day?
Yeah.
Great. Sleep. Like, but then there are those days where there's like a great breakthrough, and it's like you learn something maybe that you didn't even know about yourself.
Yeah.
In conversation with your spouse, but you're having those conversations. There's a familiarity that comes into play that only can come from that much time together and that much vulnerability with one another. And that's how those relationships are developed.
Yeah. Well, I think it was also nice at the vow renewal, like everybody there, at least as far as we knew, were in Christian marriages. Mm-hmm. And I was like, and that's something
some new,
that in marriage, it was created by God. It was created for a purpose. I was like, but anybody can get married. You don't have to be a Christian. You don't have to even be different genders, in some states. And so, the world's just taking marriage and giving it to everybody. And it was really just supposed to be for people who had a relationship with God. And then marriage was a reflection of God and man. And so,
it's a little bit of a caveat to that. It's the image of God through the connection of man and woman.
Okay, we'll just cut that part then.
No, it's fine. It's just
cut it.
You're ruining the rest of the stop. I don't even know how to start over again.
What I was saying. Do you want to just pause and then start?
Just start with the people who are in Christian marriage.
Yeah, so it was really nice at the vow renewal. I was like, for as far as we knew, like everybody at the vow renewal was in a Christian marriage. Yeah. And, it was really nice to be in a room full of people who loved God and loved their spouse, and they put God first and then their spouse, how biblically the order goes. And so, you learn from that, like, you can have a marriage that's healthy and happy and better than you would have ever thought if God is at the front of it. And, and I will say at the beginning of our marriage, it wasn't, God, we both had a relationship with God. I was like, but he wasn't, we didn't pray for each other. We didn't ever pray together. we didn't really read our Bible. Like, God was just someone, like, we believed in him, we had a relationship with him, but that was where it was very individualized, and that was very shallow, even in our individual lives.
Yeah. Yeah. The covenant of marriage and the relation to God is uber important. It is the image of God, and completeness is inside of the covenant of marriage. Not that there aren't, it's a gift to be single as well. The Bible says
Yes.
that. And there's things you can accomplish when you're a single person you just can't accomplish when you're married, because you have more time, frankly, and resources a lot of times. But there is something about when you see the structure, when I see marriages that are not centered on God first, you see the struggle, you see the nitpicking, you see the shame, the pushing, the fighting. You see all those things in a different light because there's not a focal point. It's just me versus you. Whereas when you have God as the center of your life and the leader of your marriage, then you have this kind of like buffer zone where it's like, we are not always going to agree, but we're going to agree in Christ. And so we have this like kind of buffer of, at some point the argument is just stupid and it doesn't glorify God. It doesn't do anything valuable for us as a married couple. And so it's time to move on. And it's time to get rid of that thing.
Yeah, and I will say, as we began, several years ago, starting to put God at the center of our individual lives and kind of get out of that shallow relationship into a deeper one. But then also, at the top of our marriage, I started seeing fight. Not that we still don't have them and we don't disagree, we don't get on each other's nerves, and we don't have, we don't blow up at different times. I was like, but I have seen the conclusion. One, it happens faster, like the resolution. I was like, one of us like, you know what? I was wrong. This is stupid. We need to quit fighting, or like, hey, let's compromise. Let's just do this, figure it out and move on, because this isn't healthy. And that would have never happened before. I mean, that we would go to bed angry. I was like, I would hold grudges. I was like, you had all those things that I don't really see as, I mean, we're not perfect. I was like, I'm sure that, I give you an eye roll.
We had an argument earlier today.
Yeah. It's like, so, I mean, it still happens, but I said they're over quicker. And I think that is because, I truly, one thing is because of God, but I think it's also because our marriage is a reflection of God, and we don't want to do a disservice to that. God blessed us with our spouse. We talk about all the time, like, how amazing it is that we met each other so young. There are some people, we have friends who haven't even met their future spouse, or if they ever will. I was like, or just now going to get married and they met their spouse. And I'm like, how amazing that we've almost done 9 years. We got to spend our whole 20s. Yeah. I was like, with our person that God gave us, and that's such a blessing, but putting God at the center of our marriage, I was like, really made it whole, and it made it stronger, and it made it was supposed to be. And so it was just really nice to get to share that same completeness with other couples.
Do you think that there's an age that's too young to get married? You were 20.
Yeah, so I was 20. I was 3 months from 21. I don't think there is an age too young to get married. But I mean,
18.
Yes, like, yeah, I would say 18. I mean,
like, in the conventional sense of like, should you wait till you're 30, like some people think?
So I do actually work with several young people. They're in like their 20s to 22, and they all want to get married. Like right now, they have.
That's kind of the young Christian thing, though. Like, that is one thing. Like, we didn't get married because we were young Christian people. We were Christians. We weren't really living like it fully, but that wasn't like we were like, oh, we got to go get married so we can bump boots or whatever.
But yes,
knock boots, bump boots. I don't know.
I wasn't quite sure what
knock boots. Sorry,
we're not up on the
on
slang.
the country slang.
But anyway, so I do have a lot of young coworkers. They have their boyfriends and girlfriends, and they really want to get married. Like that's their next thing. And I'm like, well, I was your age. I actually got married at the ones who are 20. I was like, I actually got married at your age. But to me, they seem so young. And I'm like, I get what our parents, and I think it might be because we have a 17-year-old. And I'm like, I could not imagine Hassan coming to us in 2+ years being like, Mom, I met her. I found the one. And I'm going to be like, no, you did it, baby. Like, or I was like, I don't know how I'm going to react. I was like, I've never met this future person, but I don't know if maybe that's what it is because we have a teenager that I'm like, you're not ready. But we weren't ready, you know? And so I don't think there's a wrong age, like over 18, to get married. But I think it needs to all be, you know, with the right intentions and with the right realization that it's forever, that it's hard.
That's true.
Because we never had that. And, we never did premarital counseling. Not that if you do premarital counseling, you're going to have a marriage that lasts. I was like, but that's one thing that, the church that we go to, they, if you want to be married by one of their pastors, and a lot of churches do that, you go to 6 weeks of
most do.
premarital counseling. I don't know how we got it.
We had to go to one meeting.
I think we went to one meeting, and I don't think he even asked us any questions. And so, I think, and making sure that just giving, like, that the ones who want to get married young, talk to some godly couples that are been married for a few years and like, hey, what do you wish that you had known going in? And so I impress that all the time onto them, whether they ask it or not, because I really do want their marriages to succeed. And I want them to have like, the happy first years and not look back and like, oh, that was awful and things like that. So I don't think I don't think there's an age where you're too young, 18 and above.
Yeah, I don't think there's the age that's too young. I do think that you have to be realistic, though. Like, when you get married at 21, you're 21. You have 21-year-old money. You have the ability to buy 21-year-old things. Like, don't think just because you're married, you're an adult. You may even have kids come quick. Like, you still have only had 21 years of life and that much experience. And so your earning potential and all those things are going to be much lower than the person who does wait till they're 25 or older. And so be realistic with like what you can and can't do, and make sure that you and your spouse or future spouse are understanding that like, hey, I know you went to Disney World with your parents every year. We're not going to Disney World. Like for us, it was like for us, it was like laundry detergent. Like, because it was just I used to my mom getting certain thing, and so it was like.
Yeah, we went shopping the day we got back from our honeymoon because we didn't have anything groceries in our house. So, and we went, so it was me and Zach. And I had honestly never grocery shopped for anything but like snacks because I was still in college.
We're still really bad at grocery shopping.
Yeah, and then Zach, I don't even think you'd really grocery shop either. So I was like, what do we get? And I think my mom even texted us a list like, this is what the kind of stuff you get, like laundry detergent, dish soap. Like, because mom always bought all that. Like, I was in college and you had just graduated college and mom already bought all that. So, but yeah, he would go and like pick the milk out, and it was like the most expensive milk, and I was like, it's just, I'm drinking like 2%, like the Walmart brand 2%. He's like, no, this tastes better. I was like, okay. And then we go to the laundry. She's like, we got to get whatever the most, Tide. He's like, we got to get Tide. Mom gets Tide and she gets this one. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how much money is that? We did that one time. And then he realized how much money it is. He's like, you know what? Off brand, like Walmart's good. And I was like, yeah, we don't have mommy's money anymore. Yeah. And I think that is one thing that, it's great to dream about getting married.
It is.
And, it is an exciting thing. I was like, but again, realistically, if mommy and daddy pay 100% of your bills and y'all go get married tomorrow, who's going to pay the other? Who's going to take that over, So slowly start being realistic, because again, money is one thing that drives a lot of couples apart. And we've fought about it for all of our 9 years. For different reasons, whether we didn't have enough or
spending too much.
Spending too much. We finally got some money, but now we're bad at savings. Like, and it goes back and forth. I was like, it's not like it's one person or anything.
I'm the one that's bad
or
at savings.
anything like that. But again, that's one thing. And if again you go in and you're like, oh, we just want to get married, and it'll all work itself out, and it might, but it's gonna be rough.
It will work itself out.
Yeah.
There's a finality to it, whether good or bad. It will work itself out. You just may not like the process.
Yeah. And I know that one thing we've talked to with us on, like, once you're 18 and you're on your own, like, you can do what you want, you can watch what you want, and do like that. But again, we try to, stress on him, like, you got to make sure that what you do in life lines up with God and what God wants for you. But also when it comes to your spouse, like if you come home your freshman year and you want to get married, you're like, I've met her, she's the one. Again, he's 18. We can't stop him. But again, we've always said in this house, I was like, you can do that, but you're no longer a dependent. You put an I in it. You put an I in front of it. You're independent, which means, here's exactly what that means. So our kid knows for sure what it means to be an independent person, and that is you pay 100% of your bills, and you also have 100% of the consequences if that doesn't work out, and things like that. So I think that, like I said, there's not an age, but some stuff you got to figure out before you get married. And we had to figure it out. Yeah. Like your mama told you ain't getting married till you graduate college. So we got married 2 weeks later.
One
week later.
1 week later.
We got married 1 week later.
Yeah,
followed her rules.
7 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny because, it's kind of come back full circle. So we finally are like 30 and we have 30-year-old.
You're 30.
Well, we are like 30s are like the years that you establish kind of your career. And so like,
is it?
It is. So we've kind of like turned the corner a little bit financially. And then like we have a 17-year-old. So we hadn't turned that corner fully. Like we have like 4-year-old money. And I tell my kid all the time, like, your dad ain't got 17-year-old kid money. I was like, I got 4-year-old kid money.
Yeah.
At best, 4-year-old kid
money. Like, yeah, remember, you would be 4 right now.
Yeah. So don't expect me to have like
yeah, so when he turned 16, he needed a car. We're like, oh, we don't have third car money.
Not even close.
And then like an insurance for a teenage boy is ridiculous. So our lovely son went and worked at Zaxby's and then at Firehouse, and he pays for it. So he pays even a little bit of his bills right now at 17.
If he wanted a car, that was
and that's what we told him. He's like, well, I want a car and I'll work to pay the insurance. And we're like, all right.
He does it.
Yep, he does it.
Marriage is beautiful.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. And I think that when you have God at the center of it, it's a lot more fun. It's a lot more 100%. Fulfilling. It's a lot more rewarding. And it's just another level of purpose, in your life. And knowing that when God created you and I, he had that picture of us being together. And, that's beautiful. And I pray that for both our kids, that when God created them, he created their spouses too. And they are going to be lovely women who love God and will push them to love God more is what I pray for all the time.
And we're praying for you in your marriage. And hopefully something from this was interesting and beneficial for you and your spouse. And so make sure you like and subscribe here.
Well, we always leave you with the question. So I guess our question is, where did you meet your spouse? Or how old were you when you got married?
Comment here below. Yeah. Comment here.
Was it too young?
No, just the year or where? Just the year where. I don't want to.
Right now, I was 20, so.
No comment marriage counseling. Just the year and where you met.
Even though if you need marriage counseling, we got a good link to send you. So.
Yeah, so make sure you like and subscribe here, and then come back for more as we dive into more topics between relationships and marriage and family and all those things. So. Yeah. Hope you have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Night.